the Packers will always be number one in my heart. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Podcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Grossi, and today we are going to attempt to rank the top 10 teams heading into Week 10 of the NFL season. Week 9 is behind us. We had backwards hurdles. We're officially past the halfway point of the season, and now we're about to see who these teams really are. And before we get into the top 10, we got some honorable mentions to deal out because something is stirring in the West. That's right, we got 3 West teams here for the honorable mention. We got the LA Rams, who, watch out, the Rams are starting to win some football games here. They got to 500, and the wins that they've gotten over teams like the Vikings and this overtime win against the Seahawks, they've been a bit impressive. Now Puka Nacua is busy punching people right now, and I know that Rams-Seahawks game was a bit of a mess, but I want to at least give a shout out to the Rams because when they're healthy, they're looking damn good. Their defense was phenomenal against the Seahawks, causing tons of problems for Geno Smith, and I gotta give them a shout out. On top of that, my dark horse to make the playoffs from the beginning of the season, you got the Arizona Cardinals, who had their way with the Chicago Bears, absolutely demolishing them. The ground game was great. They were another team that was able to get after the opposing quarterback, and the Cardinals, they've been putting together a nice win streak, and Kyler Murray hasn't lost since that new Call of Duty dropped, so they get a shout out as well. And finally, the last honorable mention has to go to the LA Chargers from the AFC West. The Chargers, they're another team. They got a good defense. They got a good head coach. Justin Herbert is playing really well. And things are starting to come together bit by bit for the Chargers. And so while I almost put them in the top 10, the Steelers did replace them. So I apologize. But Chargers, you keep on winning, you'll find yourself in the top 10 sooner rather than later. Also, just an FYI, the Strouds are not in the top 10 this week because I really don't believe in their offensive line. I know this is probably going to cost me my car, but hey, yeah, the injuries, it's not looking good. You lost against the Jets, so sorry, Strouds. And sorry, Carr. Starting off with number 10, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, I almost took you out of the top 10 and replaced you with the Chargers, but just because you're on a bye doesn't mean I gotta take you off the list. And look at the Steelers right now. They're still in a great spot within their division. Yes, the Ravens won, the Bengals won, the Browns, yeah, they're the Cleveland Browns. But right now, this is going to be really interesting to see how their season is going to progress. Russell Wilson is undefeated as a starter for the Steelers, so that's been impressive. He's been playing pretty well. The defense is damn solid. In addition, the Steelers made a move at the trade deadline, trading for wide receiver Mike Williams for the Jets to give Russell Wilson another option. And that is not the only move that the Steelers made today, as they traded with the Green Bay Packers for pass rusher Preston Smith. Will be a nice duo to go along with TJ Watt, and so that defense should be even better. And I think looking at the Steelers, what it's going to come down to in the success of their season is going to be how they could do within the division. They were 5-1 last year, and they have a ton of divisional matchups coming up. This last stretch of the season is wild because it's basically all AFC North opponents. And so we're really going to see how good the Steelers actually are heading into this final half of the NFL season. And so Steelers, you still remain in the top 10. You have a great record. You've been playing pretty darn well. And Russell Wilson got to enjoy the bye and promote his new sandwich.
It's a sandwich.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I don't know what's in that.
Number 9, you got the purple incarnation of Satan, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings. Yeah, that was a game on Sunday, but I gotta give a shout out to Cam Robinson, who they made a trade for and played pretty damn well against the Colts. He got the game ball from Vikings staff, and I know the Colts are not the best team in football right now, but it gives Vikings fans at least some ease because after losing Darisaw, that was my main concern with them. And the Vikings didn't look like world beaters or anything like that on Sunday night, but I will say that defenses may have found a new way to stop Sam Darnold.
Go for the head.
because the refs ain't calling anything in that area for them. But the Vikings, I still think, are a pretty damn good team overall. I know there's definite concerns. Brian Flores' defense, you do worry about a little bit. A lot of yards being put up. But the fact that they got TJ Hawkinson back is definitely going to help that offense. And we'll see who the Vikings are as the season continues, because I think a lot of people are waiting for that mid-season collapse. But KOC is a good coach, and it's just going to be a matter of, can they keep that momentum going? They already have a big divisional win over the Packers, and so they are second in the NFC North right now. And we'll see if that momentum can continue for the purple incarnation of Satan. Number 8, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles coming off a win against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and man, everybody and their mother is just talking about that Saquon Barkley play, and Giants fans are just sitting there once again because you gave your best player to the freaking Eagles. Well, at the same time, you also gave us Xavier McKinney, and he's pretty damn good. Giants, what are you doing? But the Eagles, a great game for Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown goes out in that game. Thankfully, it's not serious, and Devontae Smith is able to haul in a beautiful catch, and damn, the Eagles, they've been looking pretty good. Now, I will say the Eagles almost allowed the Jaguars to get back into this thing, and Nick Sirianni doesn't need to give Eagles fans any more ammunition.
Man, I was just waiting for one of them idiot coaches to piss me off again. I don't know. I think you take the whole thing a little bit too personal. I think you just got to shake it off.
And the Eagles defense has been really damn impressive. Mitchell has looked good, Cooper DeJean has looked good, and their secondary was one of the worst parts of their team last year, and they seem to have hit on their draft picks. Great. I didn't want either of those guys, so it's totally fine. But overall, I like the Eagles going forward. Like I said, A.J. Brown avoiding that serious injury is definitely going to be significant. They have a great run game. Jalen Hurts is playing well, and as long as they don't get too aggressive and just take the points, the Eagles should be just fine contending with the Commanders in the NFC East. And so right now, the Eagles, they come in at number 8, and let's see how high they can fly. Number 7, you got the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. The Packers taking a tumble. They were in the 3 spot last week, but they're only going down to number 7, and here's why. One, they went up against the Detroit Lions, who are a really damn good football team, and they only allowed 2 offensive touchdowns, which is a pretty significant thing. On top of that, the Packers just shot themselves in the foot over and over in that game, whether it was the pick 6, whether it was the penalties, and it just drove me insane. And so I think all these issues are fixable, which is a positive thing. And listen, if I'm being honest, I don't want to blame the rain, but it's like Matt LaFleur didn't even check the forecast before the game.
Homer, it's really coming down. Could you check on the boys?
They're fine.
On top of that, Evan Williams, Jair Alexander, and Josh Myers missing from that game, so major pieces from the secondary, and we saw Elton Jenkins at center, and for a couple drives, that did not work out very well and led to some bad snaps. And for Jordan Love, obviously, he needs to heal up. This bye week is coming at an excellent time right now, but I think them going toe-to-toe with the Lions, and I think it was a closer game than the score indicated, I feel pretty damn confident in the Packers going forward. If they're able to get healthy and build that momentum, they were in the same place they were last year, except with a much better record. With a 6-3 record heading into the bye, they can go on a run. They're going to be playing some teams within the NFC North, so again, they are going to be tested. They also got the 49ers coming up. But overall, Packers, I'm feeling pretty confident. As long as Jordan Love can reduce those turnovers and make more positive plays than negative, we get some guys back from injury, I think we're going to be right back in the mix. Number 6, you got the Atlanta Falcons. And this is a team I might be a little too high on in the power rankings, but hey, they deserve it because Kirk Cousins got to have a great victory Monday after defeating the Cowboys once again.
Morning, oh what a beautiful day.
And the Falcons are an interesting team, and I think that they're flying under a lot of radars here, and I think there's a number of reasons for that. One, they're in the NFC South, which is not very publicized. Two, I think the Buccaneers are getting the majority of the coverage there. However, they have some significant injuries, and even though they went to overtime against the Chiefs, the Falcons have been quietly getting better and better. They have a top 15 defense right now, and again, I don't really believe in their pass rush too much, but they were able to contain whatever the Cowboys are throwing at them. Of course, Dak Prescott getting injured in that game and had to get pulled out, but overall, I like what the Falcons are doing, especially on offense. They can run the ball. Kirk Cousins is playing pretty well. And again, that secondary is so damn good. Looking at you, Jesse Bates. And so I do think the Falcons can win their division. Like I said, they swept the Buccaneers, who were their main competition. And there's no one really standing in front of them except for themselves. I don't really think that the Falcons are a Super Bowl team by any stretch right now, but I think they're a solid team. And we're going to see in the back half of this season whether they're a good or great football team. And so right now, after a big win, they're coming in at number 6. and we'll see if Kirk Cousins can bring him into the postseason. Number 5, ooh, close one. You got the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, whew. Tyler Bass made a game-winning 61-yard field goal. And this was after missing an extra point, just like everybody anticipated. This game was nuts. They went toe-to-toe with the Dolphins, and kudos to the Dolphins, because the Dolphins' offense looked much better this week, his second week back with Tua, and it was their defense that really let them down. Josh Allen had 3 touchdowns on the day, and even though the Bills' run defense did not look great, Achane ran all over them, they got a big divisional win. And on top of that, their only competition within the division right now is the Jets, and that's a maybe for the Bills. And so I think the Bills are in a really good situation. They do have a Chiefs game coming up within the next few weeks, which I think is going to be massive. And it'll be a great test to see where they rank within the NFL amongst the top teams. And right now, I like the Bills. They're a team that I don't know if they can go the distance, but they're a team I think that can get hot. And if they can get into the postseason, which I think they're going to, who knows? Maybe miracles can happen. And so while I do think there's some things to clean up, I do believe in Josh Allen and that offense. And so they continue to roll, knocking off the Dolphins. And even though it was a little too close for comfort, they got that big divisional win, which can always be wonky. And so because of that, Bills, you're in the top 5. Number 4, oh, Wildflower, you got the Washington Commanders. And listen, I'm going to be very honest with you. The Commanders, I don't know how long they're going to be able to sustain this, but I am going to enjoy every second of it because their fan base deserves all of it. And let's be honest, they're just getting started in DC.
Our future's so bright, we gotta wear shades, Mini-Me.
But the Commanders having a big win over the Giants. No Brian Robinson once again, but that did not matter because that connection between Jaden Daniels and Scary Terry is beautiful. And again, I just love the way the Commanders are playing right now. Their defense is surpassing a ton of people's expectations, and their offense with a rookie QB is rocking and rolling. And I know that a lot of Cardinals fans are looking at Cliff Kingsbury wondering when that midseason collapse is going to happen. And like I said, I think things are going to get harder for the Commanders, but right now they're number 1 within their division. Those Eagles games are going to be really damn good considering, one, it's going to be a fight for the East, but on top of that, Commanders and Eagles is always usually a really good game. And so I'm really looking forward to that because we'll see who is going to be victorious in that division. And on top of that, a huge move for the Washington Commanders as they traded for Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints this week, and that should definitely bolster up their defense as the Commanders look to try and capitalize on their young QB success, and let's just see how far it can take them. But right now, Commanders, you're looking pretty damn good. Jaden Daniels just keeps on winning, and Wildflower is just having the time of his life. Number 3, you got the Baltimore Ravens. Whew! Broncos fans, you actually thought you had a chance in that game.
Tell me what thy lordly name is on the nice plutonian shore.
Quoth the Raven.
Eat my shorts.
And here's what makes this so impressive. The Ravens, they dropped down a bit after losing to the Browns last week, but like I've been saying, those divisional games, they always get a bit wonky. Baltimore had an insanely good bounce back game against a really good defense. Lamar Jackson absolutely tore it up, and he has just been playing phenomenally well. Whether it's his way of evading pressure, getting the ball down the field, of course he can run. Lamar Jackson right now is probably a front runner for MVP once again. I know it's only week 9, but yeah, it was really impressive what he was able to do against that Denver Broncos defense. And while there are definite concerns about the Ravens defense and longevity, how that's going to impact them in the postseason, right now, heading into week 10, the Ravens are a top 3 football team and arguably the second best team in the AFC. The Ravens also made a move at the trade deadline, trading for corner Trey White. Now, I don't think this is going to really move the needle, but if they're able to get at least a depth piece there in the back of the secondary, that could wind up helping. And so a decisive win over a very, very good defense. There is a lot to love right now from the Ravens, and let's see if they can continue that momentum because things are going to get challenging for them as they're going to have to go against some division rivals soon. But for right now, if you want to mess around with the Ravens, you're going to flock around and find out. Number 2, you got the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs. And ooh, that was a close game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday Night Football, going all the way into overtime. A huge shout out to the Buccaneers for still playing that game as close as it was. And Mahomes gave everyone a scare in that game, but he had no problem coming back and getting the win in overtime.
That was close. Well, thanks a lot, Homer.
Well, it's hey, I thought you twisted your ankle.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, the thing about that is...
And the Chiefs, it has not been pretty basically this entire season, but they are still undefeated. Their defense is phenomenal. Their offense, Kareem Hunt just grinds down teams. That last drive that they had before the end of regulation was phenomenal. It was a long drive that took over half of the fourth quarter, and that is how they are beating teams right now. Doesn't matter if they don't have Isaiah Pacheco or anything else. And by the way, they also got DeAndre Hopkins, who had multiple touchdowns on Monday night. Yeah, thanks, Titans, for that. And it feels like with the Chiefs, we're just waiting for them to get a little bit healthier. When Pacheco comes back, it's going to be even more crazy. And again, if it's these kind of ugly wins now, let's see what it looks like come playoffs, because right now, we all know the Chiefs, they're going to make the postseason, and that's when it's really going to start to matter, and they have all the experience there. So yeah, as of right now, the reign of terror continues. The Chiefs are still undefeated. And let's see if some team can step up. And back-to-back #1 spots in the power rankings. You got the Detroit Lions. The Lions went into Lambeau for the 3rd straight time and defeated the Packers. And it hasn't been enjoyable either time. Not gonna lie. But the Lions, they played efficient frickin' frackin' football. Of course, Brian Branch not in that game. J-Mo not in that game because Branch got ejected, and J-Mo, he's coming back for suspension after this week. But the Lions were super efficient. Jared Goff didn't make any mistakes. Their run game was great. David Montgomery and Gibbs were able to pick up big chunks of yards. And again, they just controlled the clock just as well as the Packers did, and they capitalized on all the mistakes that the Packers made, which were plenty. And while the pass rush is still a concern, Lions fans have been waiting weeks for the Zadarius Smith trade to come to fruition.
It's a rumor. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. We have heard nothing.
And as of today, it finally happened as Zadarius Smith continues his NFC North tour going to the Lions. And I don't know how much of a difference he's honestly going to make to that pass rush, but it's better than what they currently had. And right now, the Lions, they are getting tough wins. They look like the best team in football. They have all the momentum. They have a Sunday night game against the Strouds, which should be a pretty damn good game. I like the Lions in that. And right now, even though the Chiefs are undefeated, I think just the brand of football the Lions are playing is really well disciplined. It's a very balanced attack on offense. Their defense is pretty damn good. And that's why I think the Lions are the best team in football currently. And Lions, we'll see you again in December. But just to recap, at #1, you got the Lions, 2 Chiefs, 3 Ravens, 4 Commanders, 5 Bills, 6 Falcons, 7 Packers, 8 Eagles, 9 Vikings, and 10 Steelers. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who should be on this list? Who should be off of it? Let me know. You know, I saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. A big shout and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.